I think there's just a lot of opportunities here. And I do have ideas and thoughts around, kind of how to get started with this, because that's where I see a lot of people struggling with this in the small to mid-sized business is really sort of, okay, now what? I've read about it. ChatGPT's been out 18 months. What do I do?
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and we have a special two-part series with David Hartley, who is a business and technology executive with over 30 years of continuous innovation and leadership. In part one, we'll discuss the impact of AI on our industry and how you can embrace it. Let's get to that conversation now. David Hartley, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you, David. And for those of our listeners that maybe haven't heard of you or listened to you online, please tell us a little bit about you, your career leading up to this point.
Okay. So I've been in this game a long time. It's shocking to me sometimes how much experience I have. I think probably a lot of people get that way, but I'm at that point. So yeah, I've been doing this since the early 90s. So I started, passed the CPA exam. I had a very wise friend of mine that said, when I was trying to figure out, did I want to be an engineer or did I want to do business? And he said, dude, you need to study accounting. You don't have to be an accountant, but it's the language of business and it's a skill you need to have. I said, great. So I went that route, passed the CPA exam, realized I really liked the accounting community. So I joined Ernst & Young, coming out of college, was there for 9 years. And then I've had several hops along the way. Probably one of the most interesting things is about halfway through my career, I took a complete pivot and I went to technology. And I actually led technology for a public company. And I did that for 6 years. And then I came back to the CPA world. And I think that experience of me being on the other side of the desk in the decision maker seat and learning how difficult that role is has made me a better advisor to my clients. So currently I'm at Anders, which is headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a little north of 400 employees. We're a top 100 CPA and advisory firm. I think last year we were number 77 or 78 or something like that. So, but it's a great group of people. We're doing some interesting and innovative things. I joined the firm about 5 years ago, and we're having fun, delivering value, and serving as a catalyst of success, both for our employees and for our clients.
Yeah, very cool. Very exciting. I love to hear some of the exciting new things you're working on. And why don't we start off with one that's definitely very top of mind for many, which is AI. And I mean, you've been doing this, as you've just said, for a long time. And now here comes AI. I'm sure that's like blowing your mind in many ways.
It's interesting. So I did an interview probably a couple of months ago on the Young CPA Success Show. And they asked me, hey, would you come on and talk about, is today a good time to be a young CPA, yes or no? And so I thought about it and I said, well, actually, today is the best day ever to be a young CPA. And tomorrow is going to be even better. So we did a podcast, and as part of that podcast, I did it in David Letterman Top 10 style, which was a lot of fun. But in that, I reflected back on what it was like in the early 90s in public accounting compared to today. And when I look at how much the profession has evolved, how much technology has impacted everything, certainly in our society, but when you look at the profession, how much it's impacted, I mean, it's just astounding. So that was a fun. I'll plug this later, but I'm big on LinkedIn. So if you go and search my LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn/Dave Hartley, you'll find, and I posted about that podcast there, so you can find that episode on YouTube. So, but it is, and now I look at that and where we are today and sort of the change that the internet has brought. And I look at where we're at today and I see a similar evolution with AI. I think it's real. I think it's going to be significant. And in some ways it is mind-blowing.
It's most definitely mind-blowing. And where do you think AI is changing the game for accountants and bookkeepers?
Well, I think it's going to. I think it's going to have a significant impact, and I think just the fact that, like, when I think this was one of the things that I reflected back on when I started in the early '90s. Basically, what I did for the first couple of years of my career was basically do fairly mundane things over and over again. I did audit, so I would audit cash, and then I would audit receivables, and it was great experience. But for the most part, like, I wasn't doing really high value activities at that point. And that's how a lot of people that come into the profession learn. So now I look at, well, a lot of that is going to be automated. And that work won't need to be done by a human because the technology will take care of that. And so I think it's going to have a significant impact sort of in how professionals evolve within the profession. And I think just in general, the automation aspects of it in terms of freeing up time from, I know a lot of busy people listen to this podcast. And when you think about, wow, what would I do if I could still get my work done, but I got it done 5 hours faster or 10 hours faster? What would that look like? And it's like, well, then that leaves me either time for leisure, which is fantastic, or if I want to repurpose that time, then you start looking at, okay, well, then I can help with really truly giving advice to my clients, and I can perform higher level skills. I can probably do more forecasting, because a lot of people, I think, they have these moments of, oh, well, I would clearly make this decision, or I'd make that decision, or they should know this, or they should know that. But you're so busy doing the work that you don't have time to do that. And I think AI provides that and many, many, many other opportunities as well.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, some great thoughts. And yeah, the workhorse potential of AI to provide information, analysis, content. It's mind-boggling to free up the human being to take that information and bring human creativity to it.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think there's, and there was actually just, I watch, and we'll talk about later some of my, tips and recommendations, but I really pay attention to whenever a major study comes out, sort of what it says about the potential impact of AI. So I was on a panel probably 6 months ago, and I was thinking, like, I've had clients tell me that they've had 30 to 40% productivity improvements. I'm like, wow, that's impressive. You think about that across all of GDP, it's like, holy cow, that's a big number. So I started, kind of looking at that, and I was on this panel, and I was like thinking that 30, 40% number. And there were two other academics on the panel with me. And one of them said, I would take one accountant working with AI versus two accountants not using AI. I was like, okay, now we're talking magnitudes of increases of productivity. I was like, that's impressive. So then the next person went, also an academic, who said, well, basically, I would take one person with the tool versus give me three accountants without the tools. And that's when it's like, okay, this is orders of magnitude of significance. And why it really struck me was because generally in academia, if they're in the right spot, they have the chance to do research and really have the time to try a lot of these new technologies earlier than the rest of us, because most of us are generally busier than, what the workload that some academics have to handle. So that was, okay, these are the people that have experimented with the technology, and this is their conclusion. Wow, that's significant. So as I've watched earning reports come out from companies, obviously AI, they use the word AI 50 times in their earnings calls, but PwC just released a study that said, based on their survey of CEOs, that CEOs are expecting a 5% headcount reduction as a result of the impact of AI technologies in 2024. I'm like, okay. And you've heard a lot of the major tech places are cutting back in terms of staffing. There's been a number of layoffs. They're looking at efficiency. A lot of that is going to be driven by technology and specifically AI. So I think it's going to be fascinating to watch. And I do think it's going to have a significant impact.
Absolutely. We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor. Here on the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast, we want to help you work smarter and build a business you love. Chances are you want to do the same for your clients. That's where Bill comes in. Bill automates your clients' AP, AR, spend, and expense, and lets them track and manage their cash flow in real time. Do you manage your clients' bill pay? Use Bill Accountant Console to access insights to level up your advisory services, giving your clients better visibility for better business decisions. And if your clients would rather manage their own AP and AR, just refer them to Bill. Sign up for Bill's premium referral program, and you'll get revenue share for your referrals, plus a discount for your clients. Win-win. To learn more about how Bill can help you and your clients and to sign up for the referral program, visit thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/Bill. Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. I'm sure many of our listeners right now are sitting there going, oh, is this going to put me out of work? Am I going to, should I be afraid of this or should I be embracing this?
Yeah, my 2 cents would be never live in fear. When I look back over my 30 plus years, a lot of bad things have happened to me, but you just have to keep going and you just have to keep showing up on a day-to-day basis. So when I think about this, I would view it more as an opportunity. If you're willing to spend the time and embrace it, it truly can be a game changer, I think, for you compared to your competition. Because I think when clients hear or prospects hear, hey, here's what I do in my bookkeeping business. And oh yeah, I leverage the latest AI tools so I can be the most efficient and effective as possible in the work that I do. I think that's going to be more attractive in the marketplace. So I think you have a chance to increase revenue that way. And then on the back end, if you truly are using those tools and something that used to take you 10 hours, now you can get done in 4, the margin impact is going to be pretty positive and significant as well. So I think there's just a lot of opportunities here. And I do have ideas and thoughts around, kind of how to get started with this, because that's where I see a lot of people struggling with this in the small to mid-sized business is really sort of, okay, now what? I've read about it. ChatGPT's been out 18 months. What do I do?
That's a great one. I mean, and I agree with you on everything you said. And I think often people in our community are thinking, how's it going to impact me in my business from a bookkeeping standpoint, and maybe some of the work that they will no longer do or need to do that the machines will do. But when you think about their own business, how is that tool utilized in their business to help them grow their business, to help them manage customer relationships, all those different, there's so many opportunities there. And the sooner you jump on it, the better, because you're going to learn it. You're going to understand it. You're going to be able to be able to adapt to what's coming and be at the forefront, perhaps, of that. But in your thoughts, where do you see the best? If someone's exactly as you've said, it's been here 18 months. I've heard about it. Where should I start?
Yeah. So 3 things. So if you have to start somewhere, these are the 3 things where I suggest you start. The first is you got to start paying attention. So a lot of times you see AI in the news or in the media and you go, oh my God, I don't have time to process that. So I'm not even going to read it because I can't get there. So what I'm encouraging people, step 1 is at least start doing that. Start paying attention, start reading about it, because I think the more you expose yourself to it, the more, the quicker you're going to be able to pick it up. So that would be thing number 1. Thing number 2 would be lots and lots of, if not every vendor, are rolling out AI functionality as part of their tools. So getting exposed to that, I think, is good. But I think pay attention to when they talk about these tools, they'll talk about the outcomes or the benefits that they've identified, that they're building AI into their product to achieve these benefits. And I think if you start paying attention to the benefits, then that's where it becomes oh, you mean it can do that? Well, then that should be able to help me in my business this way. And so you're going to see, and every vendor is going to have something AI related as part of their tool set and their discussions. I think if you start paying attention to the benefits and outcomes that they're talking about, that will educate you more on the why. These are some of the things that you can do with these tools that maybe you couldn't do before. And then the third thing and final thing is experiment. So pick a tool, any of the tools, and start using it. Because what you'll discover is that AI solves problems you didn't know you had. Because a lot of us, I've been in this game for 3 decades, and I've been doing this so long, I just do the thing that I do. However, when you stop thinking about it and force in your routine to, okay, now I've got ChatGPT, and now instead of doing something normally the way I do it, I try to pause and say, okay, well, could I use ChatGPT for this? Is there a way that it could help me? And then by just starting, well, maybe, I don't know. Let me ask it this question. Let me have this dialogue with the tool. And then you'll start to see some of the things that are possible. And some of the things that I've found interesting is that you'll do certain things and you'll have a dialogue going, and then it will make a recommendation that you didn't even ask for. And that's when you start to see the glimmer of what this is capable of. And I was at the Digital CPA conference in December, and one of the presenters made a great quote that really stuck with me. It's like, and then there's a whole set of writings behind this, but basically AI, we've had calculators forever, and calculators look at what it's helped us do with data and numbers and how we've advanced, but we really haven't been able to do that with language. So basically AI is a calculator for words. And it allows you to take massive amounts of unstructured data that previously was words that you couldn't manage. And now, because of the capabilities in AI, it can analyze that, it can summarize it, it can bring you certain key points out of it. What are the action items? But these are the things that we've never done before. So there will be a lot of people in this world that will just keep trudging on with the way that they've always done things, and it will take them 10 hours. If you start to embrace these tools and experiment with them, you'll be one of the folks that'll get it done in 4 and repurpose that 6 hours either to do something fun and or provide additional value by doing analysis or forecasting or different types of things. It's going to open the doors for those opportunities. So in my opinion, if you have to start somewhere, just start with those 3 things. And I think that will at least get the wheels turning on this journey for you.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. And I love your third one, experimentation. And I don't use it a ton, but I use it often. It's always up on my pinned, because I might have something that I'm going to ask it or to do something. But just the other day, I was like, I needed to basically write a synopsis of an interview, and I'm like, I'm busy, I got things to do, but I needed this, and I'm like, I wonder how AI would tackle this. So I grabbed a previous synopsis that I've done before. I threw it in there. I said, this is the one I've done before. And then I grabbed the transcript of the interview. I said, this is the interview. Can you write this, analyze what I've done before, and then, crank this out for me? And it was like, what? It just absolutely, it needed work.
Right.
But the amount of work to do that, I mean, it's right there. Like you say, it is just a 10x or 20, 100x saving.
Because what would it have taken you to have written that yourself? I mean, you would have had to sit back, go through, think through it, probably 2 hours. And instead,
I would think at least that.
Yeah, instead it was done in 60 seconds.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing. But that's a great example. Normally, you would have done it the way that you've always done it, which is just do it.
Yeah, I had my fingers on the keyboard, typing away and looking at it and thinking, okay, I got to get this done. And then literally within about 5 minutes after that, I had it done. And that saved me hours of work right there. And did, I would say, probably a better job, because I'm now editing versus being first draft.
In my mind, I've started thinking about it of like in the room next to me, I have 4 or 5 interns. And they don't have a lot of experience, but they're really young and eager, and they're willing to do the work. And so I'm basically asking an intern to go do a task. Do I expect them to do it perfectly? No. Will it have 30 years of knowledge and experience? No. But they'll have a good start. And then I'll say, but did you think about this? Did you think about that? And then you start going back and forth and improving your prompts and asking additional questions. And you'll find that you'll get to that destination pretty quickly. The other thing to remember is today is the worst day ever that AI tools will be. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, they'll be better. The day after that, they'll be better. The day after that, they'll be better. So when you're thinking about, well, this really isn't that impactful, or right now it's kind of this separate thing. Oh, I have to remember to go to ChatGPT or Bard or whatever your tool is, and then do this thing with it. Well, I think what's going to be the next wave of this that we're going to see starting in 2024, a lot of vendors have been hyping their AI technology that's being baked into their products. We're going to start to see that. Yeah, and that's when it becomes real. Like if you're working with Copilot from Microsoft, with some of these tools that are starting to come out, you start to see things that happen, and it's kind of surprising. And it makes you realize the possibilities and how quickly these technologies are advancing. So it may not be perfect today, but remember, in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, I think it's going to be really compelling what these technologies can do.
Yeah, it's in that stream of thought. I had tried, I think when it really started to first come out, so when it might have been like a year ago, maybe a bit more, where I had heard all this, I had no idea. People said chat. I thought it was like a chat bot or something. And finally someone said, oh, you got to check this out. So I checked it out and I dumped in a podcast episode transcription into it. And it was like, oh, it's too much information. I can't handle it. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, so I could cut it in half. But it was like, so after I did that case study, I thought, I wonder if it, is it up to speed here now? So I dumped the transcript from way back years ago. We had some transcript. I threw it in there. I said, write the show notes for this. Boom, wrote the show notes. Write a blog post on this. Wrote a blog post. So transcription in, and 60 seconds later, I've got all the show notes for the podcast and a blog post that's ready for editing. I mean, it got smarter, and the power of it expanded by probably, who knows, double in just maybe a year. And I mean, that's just my little tiny experimentation.
Yeah. Early, and that's a great example of the calculator for words.
Yeah,
things that couldn't be done before. But it was interesting in early 23, CPAs were all pounding our chest because we're like, oh, ChatGPT can't pass the CPA exam. And then we were all proud and happy about it. It failed. And then literally 3 weeks later, it passed. Wow. And it's like, that's an example of it. Now there's all sorts of caveats and all that stuff. Did it really take the exam? Okay. But it sort of mastered the body of knowledge enough to pass the CPA exam. That's impressive. And that happened in 3 weeks. So these things are evolving extremely rapidly. And I think their power, especially as it gets integrated into everything that we do, and it starts suggesting and being more, I mean, right now, these technologies already affect us. When you're in Netflix and it's making recommendations, that's powered by AI. There's so many examples of things that are already in our everyday lives that we don't even realize is being affected by AI. So then as that technology gets better, your Netflix recommendations are going to get better. And it's going to evolve and evolve and evolve. And I think it's just going to be fascinating to see where this goes.
Very cool. Yeah, so exciting. So I hope this inspires our listener to, if they haven't already, step 1, 2, and 3, get experimenting and see what this can be doing for you in your business and in your life. I mean, it's wherever you need a workhorse.
Yeah, and Michael, one thing that I would suggest your listeners do is to actually do a calculation of how much time do I spend on AP invoice capture, AP invoice coding, basic reporting, bank reconciliations, and do the math on that. And if that's a significant number, then that's probably that you've got a fairly significant opportunity. If you spend half your time doing those activities, well, probably pretty darn quickly, AI is going to be able to do those things for you. So then it's about, okay, well, then I have this extra time, this extra capacity. Can I spend that marketing my firm? Can I spend that deepening my client relationships? Can I spend it doing more forecasting and value-added true advisory services for my clients, which, by the way, then I could probably also charge a premium for that. Because going back to your earlier questions about individuals being threatened, I think also just in terms of the profession being threatened, in my mind, a lot of this stuff will be automated, but the role of the advisor and the CPA is going to be increasingly important because things are becoming so complex. And right now, for me, a lot of this is about curating. Like right now, I could go out and search I want to get trained on something. I will literally find 1,000 choices in how to get trained on something. But what is the thing that's actually going to be most impactful? What is the 1 or 2 things? And for somebody to say, oh yeah, there's 1,000 out there, but you need to do these 3 things. It's like that creates so much value. And when you think about that, we have that insight, we have that financial acumen, and there's so many people in the world that don't. So even though some things will be automated, they're still going to need advice. They're still going to need a relationship, and they will value that. And as you provide these higher level services and more gets automated, you have an opportunity to really increase your market share and increase your margins. So I think from a business perspective, it's a significant opportunity.
Well, that was a great chat with David. some excellent insights. And in part 2 of our conversation, we'll explore hybrid working and how it affects everyone, including bookkeeping business owners. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.